Utah football continues to bring in talent. We're talking about the latest four-star quarterback to commit to Utah, as well as other talent that is going to be coming up to the University of Utah in the near future on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen every single day. We are available on all platforms, including YouTube and wherever you may get your podcast. If this is your first time listening to our show, make sure you like and subscribe. Love interacting with all of you in the YouTube comments, and you can follow our show on Locked On Utes on X as well. Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by our great friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On, all caps, no spaces, for $20 off your first purchase. My name is JT Wistrcill, former intern inside the University of Utah Athletic Department. Excited to be joined on today's episode of Locked On Utes by Austin Emes, a member of Fan Nation's All Utes' coverage team that does a great job breaking down all things Utah athletics. And speaking of breaking down Utah athletics, that's what we're doing today. Talk about the Utah women's basketball team at the end of the show and their recent wins that they've gotten. Talking about the draft stock of a couple of Utah football players fresh off the Senior Bowl. But starting off, we have to talk about some quarterback talent that Utah's brought in and another exciting talented piece that this Utah team just signed. But the first guy I want to talk about is Wyatt Becker, a four-star quarterback in the class of 2025, 6'2", 180. This is a guy, Sierra Canyon High School, that is going to be a guy I think that has a chance to compete for the starting job eventually. Like, as of this exact moment, I'm going to be like, oh, he's beating out Isaac Wilson or even like a Brandon Rose if he comes along. Like, I'm not ready to say that yet, but this is a guy who's got tremendous talent. This is a huge get to me. Quarterback's the most important position on the field. We saw how desperate and how the quarterback's injuries derailed Utah's season this past year. You want as many capable and as talented guys in that room as you can get. And Becker's a guy who's got just tremendous talent, I think, when you're talking about the arm, the ability to just make different throws, the accuracy, make different throws off platform too. There's a lot to like about his game that's earned him this four-star ranking. And also, too, like when you're getting it done at Sierra Canyon, like that's where LeBron's son went to high school. Like these are big-time teams, big-time opponents like you're facing off against. I have no question about can he do it against good competition. This is a huge get for me, and I really think it's awesome that Utah is able to land Becker so early in the 2025 cycle because I'm excited about his potential and future with Utah.
Yeah, I mean, when everybody thinks of Sierra Canyon, they think of the basketball team, right? LeBron's son, but they're good at football. I think they made it to the CIF Division I semifinals and lost against Mater Dei, which is the best team in the country.
Shame in that.
Best high school football team in the country, yeah. But Becker was their leader the entire season, and he's a guy that's going to come into Utah in 2025. And I think he will make a real case to be the starting quarterback at the U. He mentioned that he wanted to commit to Utah early to help the U build their class for 2025, which I respect a lot. He's still a junior, or he's going into his senior season. So I think he's going to grow. Like you said, 6'2", 180. I think he's going to grow, get taller, get bigger, and get stronger. But that arm is already a cannon. I was watching some of his tape. He throws lasers. He throws 55 with ease. And he's learning a lot, and he still has time to learn a lot. I think he's coached right now by Danny Hernandez, which is a really big coach down in SoCal. He's coached people like Julian Sayin, the former Alabama commit. I don't know if he's still there. Malachi Nelson, who's at Boise State, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams. So I think when you have a coach like that, you're going to get better, and you're going to keep getting better until he comes to the U.
Yeah, it's really exciting anytime you get a player who's worked with a coach that's developed talent like that too. And it's going to be interesting to see and Becker's commitment early, to your point about getting other guys in, like receivers, all that stuff. Like there's no question, like, well, who's in my class? Who's going to be throwing to me? Like that's Becker. That's where that's a big time get for sure. So I'm excited to see what Utah can do with Becker. It's not the only actual quarterback they've added. Utah was also able to get a commitment from Isaiah Suisui. He's a guy who played quarterback at West High School, 6'2", 200. This is a guy who, although he was a quarterback, I feel like when he gets up to Utah, he's going to be more of an athlete. And hey, you never know. Prove me wrong. Be the starting quarterback up there one day. But this to me feels like more of a even listed on 24/7 Sports as an athlete, and that is kind of what I project him as well. But this is a guy who's made play. I've watched him make plays in person a number of times with his legs. It is tremendous. His rushing ability, his speed as well. He's got long arms too, so that's something as well. Like if we want to turn him into a defensive back potentially, if you think because of his offensive acumen, he'd be better at receiver, all those things. But some position where you can still get the ball in his hands or have him stopping quarterbacks. He would do a great job reading quarterbacks' eyes because he's used to going through their progressions as well. I do believe he's going to be taking a mission, so he is a guy that we might have to wait a little bit to see him at Salt Lake City, see him at Utah. But the potential is totally there for Su'i, and I think this is a nice addition. And let's not forget that Utah's had other walk-ons before that have risen the ranks. We all go crazy for the 4 stars and even the high-end 3 stars, but like walk-ons and other guys like make plays and do things all the time. It wasn't that long ago that Baker Mayfield was a walk-on and won a Heisman. So don't completely discount the walk-ons.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, JT. I think Isaiah's he could come to the U and he could compete for the quarterback position, backup quarterback position with Isaac Wilson, but I see him coming in as an athlete. I mean, this Utah coaching staff, they love to switch people around. Think of a guy a couple of years ago, Jaquindon Jackson. Came in as a quarterback, moved to running back, and he was one of Utah's best offensive threats in his time here. So I think in terms of Isaiah, he's a dual threat. He's quick. As a ball carrier, when plays break down, he runs for it and he runs hard. So I have to agree. I think DB, running back, I think one of those will be the position we see him play at the U.
Yeah, versatility is key, and Utah does such a great job developing guys. You mentioned Jaquindon Jackson, and there's so many other guys we could run through, whether it is a position change or how about just in the middle of the season, what they helped Sione Vaki do and accomplish. And yes, part of that was a necessity of not having running backs, but still helping Sione grow into that player that he can be, such a standout defensive star and still do things offensively. Joe Klatt recently called Utah the second best developmental football team in college football, only behind Michigan. And I think whenever I say that, I think some people will be like, oh, Georgia, Alabama, anyone? But like, I think what he's more so talking about is lower ranking guys coming in and getting developed, not, hey, here's a 5-star. Oh, hey, he's still a 5-star at Georgia. Like, it's more so like the Devin Lloyds, the Brant Keithys, guys like Cam Rising, cast off. Cam Rising was at Texas, didn't do much there, comes over, transfers to Utah, was Tyler Huntley's backup, battling out with former South Carolina quarterback Jake Bentley, gets hurt, like all of that. And then boom, all of a sudden he gets a starting job as a star. How about Dalton Kincaid coming from San Diego? Like what? Like I remember doing a feature story on Dalton when he just balled out against Weber. And I didn't think I was talking to a guy who is going to be Josh Allen's favorite target, it seems like, for the next few years. Like that's where it's crazy. And you've got to give so much credit to this Utah staff. So I'm excited to see what they continue to do with a guy like Su'i as the athletic intangibles, as well as getting a guy like Becker in the building. And I know Utah had some quarterback issues this past season, but the simple fact remains, when Utah has their starting quarterback, like the guy they think is going to be their starting quarterback, come in and he gets the opportunity to play, Cam Rising, Tyler Huntley, Utah's done a pretty good job. So that's where I'm going to trust in Andy Ludwig, trust in Kyle Whittingham. I'm not going to overreact to some issues. And also, I think it is funny that people so often only take bowl game Bryson Barnes and act like that was Bryson for the entire season. Like he didn't make great plays against USC. Like he didn't help Utah have a chance to upset Washington. Yes, Bryson was limited. Most backup quarterbacks are. So I think that's something to bear in mind. These are 2 really good commits for Utah. And I'm excited to see what those guys are going to come up and be able to do once they're up on the hill in Salt Lake City. But those guys, their future, at least at the collegiate level, is still ahead of them. Time to talk about some guys whose NFL future is still ahead of them now, as Sione Vaki, Cole Bishop, and Sataoa Laumea all did outstanding at the Senior Bowl, as we discussed on yesterday's show. But now I want to talk about what that successful Senior Bowl week means for their NFL draft future. Wanted to dive into all of that with all of you in one moment. But first, I want to take a second to discuss with you a little bit more about one of the sponsors of today's show in Gametime. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have great last-minute deals, and right now, all users get $100 off when you buy a big game ticket with code VEGAS. That's capital Vegas and 100, no spaces. They have those last-minute deals, their flash deals, zone deals. It's just easy to navigate, find, and buy tickets, and they even have view from your seats, so you know exactly the kind of deal that you're getting. Plus, Gametime is the Gametime guarantee. It means you'll always get the best price if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Right now, all Gametime users get $100 off a big game ticket with code VEGAS100. Once again, terms apply. Just download the Gametime app and use code VEGAS100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code LOCKED ON with a capital L and O, everything else lowercase, no spaces, locked on for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Also want to talk to all of you about another sponsor of our episode of Locked On Utes and our friends at UCCU Learner, and the UCCU mobile banking app that pays your entire family to learn about money. Kids look to parents to become more financially literate, but parents, they don't always know the answers. Learner breaks down financial topics into fun, bite-sized educational games like quizzes and trivia. Every time a family member completes a topic, they earn points that can occur and can be redeemed for gift cards, stores like Amazon, Apple, Sephora, Walmart, Nike, and more. There is age-appropriate content for every member of the family. You compete against each other and track their progress on leaderboards. Learn and Earn is inside the UCCU mobile banking app, so play it anytime, anywhere. The more you play, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more you earn. Learn Earn, part of UCCU's award-winning Bean Money Smart Youth Banking Program, helping kids, teens, and parents have fun while becoming more financially literate together. UCCU, love where you bank. Austin, looking at the future of some soon-to-be pro Utes. I mentioned Dalton Kincaid a little bit ago. We obviously said Devin Lloyd as well. Some of the recent guys who have come through Utah and gone on to already make some standout plays at the NFL level. There's some more Utes who are going to have the opportunity to do that soon. And guys like Jonah, Elliss, Sataoa, Laumea. Also, if you just want to talk and look at a guy like a Cole Bishop, a Sione Vaki, I am incredibly excited about what this group has the potential to do at the next level. I think all of them are elite talents, and PFF seems to think so as well, because they just did their top 200 prospects in the 2024 NFL draft. And Jonah Elliss was at 37. Sione Vaki was at 71. And Sataoa Laumea was at 130, while Cole Bishop was at 164. And thank you to the Utah Football Athletics account for tweeting that out to show all those guys that love so that we could be alerted of it. But I think this is fair. I think all these guys deserve to be on there. We can talk specifically about them in a moment, but I think all of these guys are going to be contributors at the NFL level. And I think it's why you see them in the top 200 of this PFF top 200 prospect big board.
Yeah, I mean, Utah's guys stood out in their respective pre-draft bowl games. Jonah Elliss in the Shrine Bowl, I mean, he had a really good week, and it's a point that's been hammered, but we talk about that pedigree. So many family members been in the NFL, currently in the NFL. I think he's really going to succeed, and just it goes down to the athleticism. I think he is honestly could be the most athletic Elliss we've seen. 6'2", 246. Some people might call him small for edge, but I think that athleticism makes up for it. And we've seen other guys succeed at his size. So I think Elliss, I think 37 is a good ranking. Some people might see it to be high, but definitely a round 2 guy. I have him as a solid round 2 guy. I think a team like the Saints could really benefit from him. They have not the best pass rush. I believe they have pick 45, which is right in that range where Elliss is projected to be picked. So I like a team like the Saints. I like the Falcons, where his brother Caden plays. But those are all places I could see Elliss going. And then, I mean, Vaki. Vaki had a great Senior Bowl. I think Jets defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich was raving about him.
We talked about it on yesterday's show, actually. Great point, Austin.
Yeah, raving about him, the player that stuck out most out of the entire Senior Bowl lineup. I think it's really exciting to talk about the probability of him being a running back in the NFL, but obviously I think he wants to be a safety. And I think he could excel at both. I
agree.
I like 71. I think he might start out as a special teams guy, but I don't think he'll be there for long, whether that's on the offense or the defense.
When you have speed to the level that he does, it's just going to be hard not to put the ball in his hands in some capacity, at least in my opinion. I don't think he'll be like a constant offensively, but I still think you're going to see teams find a way to get him involved in there. He's just too athletic not to, and that speed, just some of the plays he made last year. It's not a lot of the guys in college football who can do that. And it is going to be an interesting conversation. I do feel like Like, let's talk about briefly all these guys, right? When you're talking about Jonah Elliss, you're talking about just a tremendous pass rusher, a guy who helped Utah's run defense become elite and was one of the best in the country at getting after the quarterback. He's got tremendous hands. The way he bends around the edge, the athleticism is impressive too. He's got a variety of moves. With his spin move was exceptional. Like, he's a guy who can come in and beat offensive tackles to create pressure into the backfield right away. And I think it's really valuable. And it's why you see him currently listed by Pro Football Focus in the top 40. I don't know how he's going to test, so I have a bad feeling he's going to drop a little bit. But I think in redrafts, you're going to see Elliss as a guy who should have gone higher because he has that potential to be an elite pass rusher. And there's a lot of teams that, depth is big at defensive end. That's where I think Elliss can come in and make an impact there. You touched on Sione's dual threat abilities. I mean, he's remarkable what he can do on both ends of the field, and I'm excited to see which team he goes to. I talked about yesterday. If it's on the Jets, fantastic. Play with some of the elite defenders they have, like a Quinnen Williams who makes plays up front while you can pick passes off, and then get thrown in on 3rd and longs and catch passes from Aaron Rodgers. I would love that for him. As for Sataoa Laumea being at 130, he's a guy I think right away can be, I don't know if he'll start his first year in the NFL, but you're telling me backup guard, backup tackle. You only dress so many guys in the NFL. The versatility is key, like the strength that he offers. Cole Bishop at 164 is a little low for me. I think maybe that's a testing thing because I don't know if he's the fastest guy, but he's just a great football player to me. At the collegiate level, he was. The NFL remains to be seen, but the exceptional tackling. He's a lead inside the box. He's a tremendous blitzer. Does a good job in coverage. He showed a number of times at the Senior Bowl what he can do in coverage too. So I'm a huge fan of Cole Bishop. I think Cole Bishop's going to climb as this process goes up. I'm curious to see Sataoa is the one. I'm curious if he can continue to climb or if he might slip just a little bit because he is an interior offensive lineman at the NFL, in my opinion. And most of the time you see those guys go later in the draft versus there's a premium on getting that blind side, and just either tackle spot, honestly, is important at this point. But I have no doubt all these guys are going to hear their names called Austin. And I think they all did a good job boosting their stock. And it's just exciting that we're in this position to have 4 guys that are firmly in the top 200 of a prospect big board this far out from the draft.
Yeah. Sataoa is an interesting one to me because in terms of size, he reminds me of a guy like Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC a couple years back. But NFL teams are really stingy about their tackles measurements. They want those tackles to have 34-inch arms, and I think Sataoa's measuring at like 33 right now. So I agree. I think he's going to be a great interior guy for a lot of NFL teams. But teams love the versatility. They can only suit up a number of guys, so they want a guy that can play inside. They want a guy that can play outside. So I think the fact that Sataoa has done both in college is really going to make him a riser up a lot of teams' boards. And I mean, Cole Bishop, a lot like Sione Vaki, they're both hard hitters. And I think they play really well near the line. Bishop was a guy whose stock definitely rose during the Senior Bowl. He was doing a really good job covering tight ends, doing a really good job near the line in coverage. But I think both of those guys really excel. Vaki and Bishop excel in coverage. They're really good in zone. So it's going to be interesting, especially with Bishop. PFF has him at 164 right now, but it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up going come draft time.
Yeah, be fascinating to watch how the process plays out for all these guys. And now they're all just hoping and waiting to see if they're going to get an NFL Combine invite. So something to keep an eye and monitor as the NFL offseason begins to tick up. 1 week till we have the Super Bowl. And we're going to be talking about the Utah women's basketball team in one moment, but want to talk to you a little bit about a great offer we have, speaking of the Super Bowl, from our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways to get in and end your season with a W or 2 or 3, because not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for players, such as who will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers can join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Austin, who are you feeling early for the Super Bowl as we record this on a Monday?
Oh, man, I figured you were going to ask me that one, JT. Well, you asked me the same question before championship week, and I went with the Chiefs, and I'm going to stick with it. It hurts. It hurts as a Chargers fan. It hurts to not root for the Chiefs, but bet on the Chiefs. But I don't know. Patrick Mahomes is once in a generation, and it's hard to bet against a guy like that. I think the 49ers are the better team overall, but I mean, the Patrick Mahomes factor is real. So I got the Chiefs.
Make sure you guys head over to FanDuel to check out all of the latest betting odds today. To your point, Austin, I thought the better team was the one that was playing Patrick Mahomes for the past 2 weeks as well. And both times he sent him home. So hard to get against Mahomes as well. I agree with you there. And, speaking of really elite teams, how about the Utah women's basketball team? They just continue to get it done and currently ranked at 20th right now, 17-6 on the season. 6 losses, a little deceptive in my opinion, just because it's like, hey, they've come to teams like Baylor on the road at Baylor. That's a ranked loss. A loss playing South Carolina, neutral site. That's the best team in the country. Lost at number 8, Colorado. Lost then to Stanford at 8 as well. Yes, you lost to Arizona, but that's a team that's had and made some big plays on the year. And they lost at top 25 Oregon State too. But where are their wins? 6th ranked USC, 2nd ranked UCLA. So they've also done some big things, and we'll have an opportunity to close the season out with some wins. This coming up on the 9th here, they'll take on Oregon State. They got Colorado not long after that. UCLA, USC, both still in the top 10, and they have to go out to those California schools. So Pac-12 women's basketball is, we know how elite of a conference it is, and it never stops with the tough tests. Now, Utah, speaking of tough tests, or not being, actually should just say tests, because not the toughest, no offense to Washington, but Utah did a really good job against Washington this past week. Alissa Pili continued to do her things, pouring 31 points. How about Jenna Johnson? She's really starting to get going at a double-double not long ago. 19 points. And speaking of near triple doubles, Kennedy McQueen with 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists too. But the starters have really stepped up for Utah, because of the injury to Gianna Neepkins. The team's not as deep anymore, but the starters have done a good job getting it done, and they did a good job holding Washington in check. I mean, even in the second quarter, Washington only scored 11 points. It's a credit to Utah and what they were able to do defensively in that game. And then when you look at what Utah also did against Washington State, another 73-61 victory. Just Utah continue to protect the Huntsmen and take care of business on their home court. No one really went off in this one. For Utah, Palmer, the leading scorer with 14 points in this one, hitting 6 of her 8 field goals, and Pili continuing to contribute, obviously, with the 15 points that she had. But this was just a Utah team that Lynn Roberts does such a great job at the helm, and they can also get stops. They do it on both ends of the floor. Washington State in the fourth quarter with the game in balance, they scored 9 points. That's a massive credit to this Utah team defensively, and I'm excited to see what Lynn Roberts and this group can continue to do as they continue to build up that momentum before a couple of tough tests to close out the regular season.
Yeah, I kind of think the women got snubbed in the rankings this week, sticking at 20.
Michelle Bodkin, friend of the show, said the same thing. Yep.
I mean, 5 of the 6 losses the team has are against teams that were ranked at the time Utah played them. You talked about South Carolina, Baylor. I mean, these are tough teams for any team to play. So I would like to see them ranked a little bit higher. I'm biased though, but I mean, let's talk about the Alissa Pili factor. I mean, she's one of the best players in all of women's basketball. I think sometimes she's in the shadow of the superstars like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese.
Caitlin Clark, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect, but I mean, Pili is one of the greatest athletes in the sport in terms of both off the court and on the court. I mean, I have her as a bona fide top 10 pick in the upcoming draft.
Okay.
And I think with her on the team, I think the sky's the limit. And I'm sure she would absolutely love to take home that NCAA tournament trophy to end off her career with the Utes. But I think before that, Utah has 7 conference games left in the season. And then they go to the Pac-12 tournament. And last year they had an untimely exit first round to the Washington State Cougars. So I think they're going to want to avenge that loss, and they're going to want to make it farther in the Pac-12 tournament and the NCAA tournament. The injury to Gianna Neepkins hurts. It really hurts. But I think the girls have had a lot of girls have stepped up. You talked about Jenna Johnson. I mean, she's been holding her own. She's been doing a really good job. I think another one is, I might be butchering it, Mady Wilk. She's doing really good. She's scored about 10 points in the last half dozen games, at or around 10 points in the last half dozen games. And she's really done a good job filling in a little bit of the slack left from Neepkins' exit. But the girls are good. And I think they're going to make a run in the tournament this year.
They're really good. It's hard to say like, oh, Final Four just without Gianna Napkins, but crazier things have happened, honestly. So I'm excited to see what this team can do. We know they're battle tested. That's what comes from playing in the Pac-12. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out the rest of the season for the Utah women's basketball team. And Austin, we appreciate you for joining us. Make sure if you want to check out his work, you head over to Fan Nation All Utes today. Austin, thanks again for stopping by.
Of course. Thanks for having me, JT.
That is going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Utes. We'll be back with you talking all things Utah football and Utah athletics tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you then.